judgment here, just a friendly ear. Tune in every day, bring your worries near. Life count show, let the heartbeats flow. With Fade, we heal and grow. Life on the couch with Fade. Talk it all out, set your mind free. Life on the couch, stories we share. Fade.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Life Couch with Faye D. So, here we talk about things that happen to the everyday people, life issues, just we discuss how people navigate these problems. We just want to share these experiences to help someone out there, let them know that they're not the only ones going through this. Okay? Today, we will be talking about life as a pastor's child. Okay, and with me on set, I have Tosin. So, I would like to introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Tosin Lawal. I used to be Tosin Adeyemi. I am a mom to two wonderful kids. I'm a wife. I'm a sister. I think I wear many caps or hats after this age. But okay, so I also sing. I'm a singer. I do a couple other things, businesses. Like I can shop for you, personal shopper. Like if you need anything and you need someone to help you get it, I can do that. If you need someone to come and sing at your party, I can do that. What else? There's so many. Yeah, but let's leave it at that.
Let's leave it at that. All right. So we will have Tosin's contact details if you want to reach out to her. Oh, but for now, so let's get to know you deeply. No pressure. So, who are your parents?
Okay. So my parents are Pastor and Pastor Isaac and Pastor Mrs. Fuluke Adeyemi. Yeah.
Did you say pastor or reverend?
Well, he doesn't care about the title. He just the pastor is just
What
fine.
he needs.
Yeah, like if you even call him brother Adeyemi, he's fine with that. He doesn't care about the title. So yeah, those are my parents, and they are pastors of. It's now called Embrace Assembly. It used to be. I don't know if I should say this, but yeah, it used to be Four Square Gospel Church.
We're going to talk about that a little bit.
It used to be Four Square Living Spring, and then the name got changed to Embrace after some years. Yeah, and they've been in the ministry for at least before they gave birth to me. So
Wow.
I met them as pastors.
And she's a mama, so you can imagine how long they have been, in the ministry. All right. So what was growing up for like you? What was childhood like?
I think it was everything. Good. I wouldn't say bad because not bad. But as a child, you had days where you were naughty and you got the consequences of your actions. But yeah, generally, no, it was good. I had amazing parents. I still have amazing parents. I still alive. So yeah, but growing up was good. I am the second of 6 children, 2 girls and then 4 boys. So it's a full household. But yeah, growing up was good.
It was good. Okay. And being a pastor's kid, you had to go to church every time?
You
Constant.
get it. Now it was not debatable.
Oh, and you
Whether
guys
you wanted or not, yeah.
grew into that life, right?
Yes.
Because for me, I don't think my dad didn't used to even go to church initially. It was just my mom. And then later, So for me, I can say that maybe somewhere in between is when we transitioned into church. But for you kind of were born into it, right?
Yes.
As a pastor's kid.
Yes.
So what kind of pressures did you face? I'm going to start from you. I'm sure your parents as well would have faced some, pressures as pastors, But for you as a person, as an individual?
Well, there were, and I feel like there are still pressures as a pastor's child, whether, you want to accept it or not.
Okay.
You have like this standard that you're already, my mom usually says, to whom much is given, much is expected. So that was like our watchword for whatever you wanted to do. So know,
Man,
know what you're doing.
that was hard.
Yeah. And, I think people forget that you're not the pastor. Even pastors are human beings at the end of the day, but you're born with, you have to live a standard. You can't fall below that standard because you think, I'm a pastor, but actually the child of pastor should do this. Then no. So growing up, it was a lot of pressure for me. There were certain things I probably wanted to do earlier.
Stories. We want to hear stories.
Like let's take for example, in first square, we were not allowed to put on trousers.
Okay.
I really liked trousers because I couldn't get what the trousers do to you. I really wanted to wear trousers. So when I was in the university, I attended Covenant University. And then one day I just decided, okay, I'm going to put on trousers. Whatever will happen. I think for me, I was a little rebellious. I had my period and I was caned a lot.
You got the consequences.
Yeah, so my mom was coming to visit, and I knew that my mom is like a confidant, or my confidant. She was just, you could discuss things with her, even though she might not agree with what you're saying, but you could still get away with some things. So I wore that trouser and I said, well, whatever will happen today, let it just happen. So she came in and she saw me. She's not the kind of person that would say, Kilo. She would first want to understand why you are doing what you're doing when you know that this is not exactly. So I told her, well, it's better that you're the one seeing me. So when your church members come to tell you that, I saw your daughter, because they used to do that. Like people were literally watching you.
Yeah.
So even when your
pressure.
even when your parents were not there, they would know what you did because somebody already honestly.
And they'll take it to them.
Yeah. So I told her that I did that. I'm wearing the trousers. If any church member comes to tell them you already know. She already showed me. It's as simple as your brother taking the car, maybe at age 14 to drive, and somebody reported that to your father just because, should he be driving that? Simple things like that. The kind of friends you have as well, we used to have. You needed to be careful if somebody else doesn't see this person. What do they think of this friend? Would they think I'm like this? It was a lot of pressure. It really was a lot of pressure. You had to live up to people's standard, not necessarily, this is what the Bible says, or just because you had that tag as a pastor's child, you had a standard, people just automatically put you in. And for me, growing up, I didn't like that. Because I'm like, I'm not the pastor, first of all. I'm just a pastor's child. And
I didn't ask them to be pastors.
Yeah. And I have my life to live, right? So I did a lot of things that, went against, what people generally say, pastors. And yeah, I got punished for some of them. But, at some point, I literally had to tell people, I'm not the pastor. I'm the pastor's child and I have my life to live.
Yeah, I think you kind of mentioned my next question. I was going to say that, did you or any of your siblings get rebellious? Like, because sometimes people act out. And I'm not talking about things like pants, wearing trousers. It could be worse. Like people, they act out just to, they just don't want to. It's in, how do I say now? Just because the pressure is too much. And they don't want to be caged in, they just act out. Did you have any episodes like that, you or any of your siblings, like it turned out really bad that, you had to manage?
I think for us, because we respected our parents more and we loved them and we genuinely did not want to mess up their ministry. Because for me, I used to think, if I do this thing, even though I want to do it, what will be the effect to their ministry? What will people say to them? I didn't want people, I didn't want to give people the opportunity to just talk anyhow about my parents. So growing up, we tended to, we just went along with what our parents wanted, even though sometimes we would discuss at home and say, we don't like this thing. So my siblings and I wouldn't say rebelled or against, no. Growing up now, we probably are doing things our own way, not necessarily what our parents want now. And my parents now understand that, well, you're adults. We really can't tell you what to do. You know, they can only guide you and say, well, this is my own stand. Though. My mom will say, well, this is what I think, but you know,
It's up to you. So to take us a little bit away from there, what were the perks? I'm sure there were some perks.
Well, let me see.
Like, did you get favors because you were, pastor's child? I don't know. I know that sometimes I give my pastor gifts. So, like, what were the things that you thought, okay, I enjoy this because I'm a pastor's child?
For me, maybe just the recognition. You had more, people knew you.
Okay.
There's a good and bad side to that. People knew you as I'm a pastor, so you had this kind of respect. The respect was there depending on how you also behaved.
Okay.
So if they think, she's okay, then they respect you as that
more.
pastor's child. Yeah. But in favors, well, if let me see if So let me give an example. So in Nigeria, I worked in the bank, and when I was going to get in the bank, banking those days, if you knew someone in authority, then it was easier to get in.
Yeah.
And then so we had
even nowadays still like it's who you know.
Yeah. So of course you would do the banking exam, but then you also talk to who. So we had like a church. One of the branch pastors who was a big customer to one of the banks. So after writing the exam, he made I have a candidate who wrote the exam, please. So when I was going to start, I didn't initially start as a full staff or whatever, but with time. But so, yeah, little things like that for children.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay. What kind of pressures do you think your parents faced on behalf of their kids as pastors?
I think they're always under pressure. And they're always under pressure. First, there's the expectation that your children have to be upright.
Yeah.
100% at all times. So you as the parent, you're also trying to check that. Check that child to be, upright. You're also checking your ministry. You don't want, really what you've built. You don't want anything to spoil it.
Taint it. Okay.
And you as a pastor, you're in a position of authority. If that authority is going to stand, your house has to be in order. So you're constantly ensuring that, even the Bible says it anyway, that if you cannot control your house, how do you want to be a pastor? So you're constantly checking that your family is,
I'm going to ask a genuine question. Do you think being able to control your house or having your house in order is because a pastor knows what to do? Or is it simply the grace of God?
It's the grace of God, honestly speaking, because nobody is perfect. Like I said, earlier, a pastor is also a human being, and he's going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Even the way you raise the kids, does that mean that that's the right way to do? Now these days, my mom say, don't. If I do something to my own kids, you say no. The fact that I did it doesn't make it right. So don't repeat some mistakes I made. So of course, they as pastors want to also. I don't want to use please people, but you want to ensure that, So sometimes there's a thin line between wanting to please the church members or people who know your pastors and doing what is actually best for that child at a point.
Okay.
So to be able to balance it
it can be tough.
Yeah.
Has there been a time that that image, as a pastor's family, has there been a time that it was threatened in any way?
As a pastor's...
as a family, maybe from the child or from, there was a time that, you were like, if this thing gets out or, if people hear that you did this, maybe it nearly happened or something. How was it curbed? How did you guys get out of it?
Let me see. I'm trying to see the worst situation that would have happened. So I will use myself, right? I'm trying to, my sister was a good girl. she didn't have issues. Me on the other end, let me say, okay, so while I don't even think my parents know this, because of course,
Sorry, Daddy.
Yeah.
Today is the day that you hear this.
Yeah. So, in Covenant University, it's like, as a pastor's child, that was the living standard was normal for me, because at home, that's literally all the rules you're following. But so in Covenant, you had to ask for exit before you can leave the school.
Okay.
There were times I left the school and I didn't go home. I went out with friends. And my parents had no idea. They probably thought, of course, Tosin is in school. But I was in the university. I just wanted to experience some things. I followed a friend to a club before. Because I
Wow.
just wanted to see what it was
What
like.
it looks like,
You know,
yeah.
and I went and I was like, I will long party.
Nothing
It was
is
just
happening,
noise.
yeah.
Yeah. But, I satisfied that urge. Because there's some things you just want to see. And your parents will keep saying, no, 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 no. As an adult now, though, I'm thinking, okay, even if I didn't do those things,
What difference?
it wouldn't really have made any difference. But as a child, you just want to. Those
You're
rules
curious.
were a lot. So you just want to, let me break one. What would happen,
I feel like you think getting out to even see, you think it doesn't do anything, but I think it does. Because the things that you go through help develop your experience, and they help you to make decisions later in future. Like you go there and you see there's nothing here. So there's nothing to want right
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
You understand what I
absolutely.
mean? So do you think being a pastor's child guides your decision making?
It does, but I'm not sure if it's being a pastor's child or just out of respect for my parents.
Okay.
For me, I think I got to a point I'm like, I'm a pastor's child, yes, but it's not about that for me.
Okay.
Because I would just then be living a pretentious life, or I wouldn't be able to be myself. So for me, it's more of, would I do this because of my parents, or would I not do this? And it might be because, background as a pastor's child, you're literally considering your parents and everything that you're doing. So, did I forget the question? Yeah,
I said, does it guide your decision making,
does.
what you do in life and stuff like that?
It does. It actually does. It does, because for me, I'm an overthinker. And it might have generated from being a pastor's kid. And for every action you want to take, you're literally thinking of 1,000 things. If I take this, what will happen? Will it mess this up? So it probably developed that overthinking ability in me, that before I take any action or
You think
any
it through.
decision, yes, I first think, okay, what will he do to me? What will he do to my parents? What will he do to their ministry? What will he do to that party? So yeah, it
Okay.
affects.
Do you think so? At what point did you begin to have a personal relationship with God? I know that you were born into this. So sometimes we think that as a pastor's child, they automatically, are Christians or they're born again or anything. But for you personally, at what point did that transition happen when you began to have that personal relationship with, God?
Yeah.
And how was it before then?
Before then, you're literally just doing what your parents want. Yes, you're a Christian in quotes, because you're born into, like you said, you go to church, you sing. But I didn't have a personal relationship. I knew Jesus through my parents. So it was whatever they said, oh, I agree with it. It's not because I did any research. So after a while, it was in Nigeria. I'm not good with dates. Before, I used to write the date. I give my life on so date. And I'm like, so if I keep that date, what does it do? But, so I think I gave my life at a concert. I just wanted to know Jesus for myself. Not once, not
And
what
that
my
was
parents-
like, what were you doing in the university? Or
in the university. Yeah, I think I was, in the university. Maybe almost graduating from the university. So imagine since when I was born, and then when I decided, okay, I need to know this Jesus for myself, because you hear testimonies. Oh, I've seen my parents experience. I've seen things work. We literally went from zero. When I say, in fact, if there's any negative other than zero,
wow.
and I know that we prayed for some things that we have.
Wow.
In fact, when we first moved to one house that we were living in, we had nothing. There was nothing in the sitting room, no chairs, nothing. And we would stand in the living room, hold hands as a family, and pray. And those things we prayed about, we saw them manifesting.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I know that, oh, yes, from my parents' experience, but I wanted to be able to also pray for myself, pray or talk about things and let that thing happen. And I said, oh, it's not because my parents were involved. So, yeah, it was after almost graduating from university, and I said, okay, let me know this Jesus for myself. Let me see if it really works, or does it work with a certain kind of people, and all
Or a
this.
level of holiness.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I'm going to go to this very sensitive. So there's some stray bullets that happen because you're a pastor's child. You and I know the story. Is it something you're comfortable to talk about? Yeah, so it was a very difficult time for me, and I'm not even the pastor's child. I'm not the pastor. I'm not the pastor's child. I know how difficult it is. So if you don't mind, talk about it. And then if there are other things, like that affected you just because you were, pastor's kids.
Well, I think at that point, my question was,
So what's the context? What happened?
okay. So, when I was introducing myself, I said the church was initially a Foursquare church. And the church was doing well. It was a big church. We used to have these yearly concerts, Embrace, and then we would invite people. We also used to travel to different countries, and then would invite people to come.
Different countries. We went to I attended the church. So we traveled, 100 people went to the US. We went to Dubai. We went
Ghana,
to UK. Turkey,
Yes.
Israel.
Yes.
So when she says it modestly, but it's actually a lot. Like a lot of people travel to the US for the first time because they attended or they were, they had something to do with this church. Okay,
Yeah.
go on.
Yeah. So, and that's one of the things I love about my parents. I always feel that as pastors, it goes past preaching to people. It also has to do with caring about people, helping them, which was what I felt my father was doing at that time. And the church was benefiting from
Yep.
it. A lot of people got to travel out based on that program.
Yep.
So when this issue started, I didn't ask for my father's permission whether I could discuss this, but the issue is past now anyway. So I'm not sure what the problem with the organization was, whether it was because we're how do I put that now? We're doing so
Thriving
well,
as a church.
yes, but it became a problem, obviously.
Yeah.
And they wanted my father out of that church, and my father is a pastor, yeah, but he also stands for what he believes in. So if your action is not
Making sense.
yeah, he needs you to explain, why should I? So he wanted to understand why he had to move from that church. There were no legal grounds. And at that point, I was wondering, what was your reason for wanting him to move? But as pastors' children, so we had limits to what my parents didn't allow us get involved in church politics, or they would never discuss church members in front of you. So even if you come and report one church member and say this, my mom would just have a way. So we were not really involved in all those things, but we were seeing what was happening.
things.
We were not allowed to discuss or even react. We were not allowed to react. That was how bad it was. But,
I remember arguing with someone on Facebook about this. Thank God there was no restriction on me.
we couldn't even do that. There were people who were literally insulting my father. And I'm like, what is all this? But we were not even allowed to respond to those people. So it got so bad that my brother was arrested and he was locked up for no reason. My parents were not in the country at the time. And because you came to arrest my father for whatever reason you had,
You didn't see
him, and then you took his son. And it was like joke. So we went to the police station and they didn't free him 3 days until 3 days after. And I thought, wow, we're going through this because we're pastors' children.
Yeah.
It's not like the boy did anything, So after that, and then the church members also rose up and said, no, their pastor isn't leaving this church. Whatever you want to go and do. It became a whole mess.
Hula baloo.
Yeah. But at that point, I wanted, so in the church also wanted, I think at some point they wanted the name Foursquare removed. And my father said, no, it's still a Foursquare. But I'm like, they're literally harassing your life. Why are you still loyal to these people? You know, and he'll tell you what, that's where God called him to, and God hasn't told him to leave. If God tells him to leave, oh yes, he will leave. But God hadn't. And in my mind, I'm like, which kind of wala be this? These people are not letting you or your family rest. You know, they were literally coming at us on every side. But my father would tell you, God hasn't told him to do something, and until God tells him. So for me, I've learned a lot from my parents as pastors, as parents. Even though, they've literally shielded a lot of things that or shaped a lot of things that I do now. A lot of my actions, usually, I think about them before I do anything.
When you do stuff.
Yeah.
So can you say is it a positive experience?
It's both.
Okay.
Positive because I have amazing parents,
Okay.
you know, and it got to say my mom had to stand up for our kids because, you know, at some point you have to stop the pressure. You
Yeah.
have to, and
Can
experience.
you give an
teaches you.
example of when your mom had to?
Oh yeah, because there was a time I was the easy target. Like I said, I was I was
Out
naughty,
there.
so I was the easy target, and then people would readily come for me, and you know, and at a point in church, she stood up in the church to say, "Leave my kids alone," because really, what do you want? They're kids at the end of the day, right? But for her, my mom is an introvert. She's quiet. For her to get to that point, then you know that they had already pushed and you literally want to sacrifice these children. Leave them alone. If they do anything, I will take care of whatever they've done. You don't, just let them
And
be.
they're not the pastors
Yeah, let them be, you know. And it gave us breathing space. Because then you can't go to her and say, oh, your child has done, because she has literally just warned you, leave my kids alone.
Okay. So right now, as a married woman, are there any pressures you still face? Are there any, is there anything that you think you brought, away from being a pastor's child into your marriage? Negative or positive?
The start or the expectation of, oh, you have to be this way. Yeah, I still carry that.
Okay.
And it's not always the best. I think sometimes I even transfer it to my daughter. And I'm like, the girl is just out. Can you just let this girl be? But, I was raised in such strict way that it's difficult for me to detach. Some things I consciously have to do it. I say, okay. Or when my mom calls and she's saying, why you harass? I'm like, is that not how you harass me too? And she'll say, no, that time was different. And yeah, but there are some things, I still, these days, sometimes I tend not to care. Whatever will happen, let it happen. But this expectation of, some people want to reach out to you. Some people want to talk to you. Some people want to, just because you are the pastor's child. I'm not a very sociable person. I like my privacy. I like my space. So if I don't see any need
And people
for
get
you,
offended.
and people get offended. Back home in Nigeria, I could do things to please you. Oh, this is another pastor, so I would, But now, I'm like, I don't
owe you
I don't exactly. I don't owe you anything, so I'm not going to do anything for you like I would have done before, but now I'm in my space. I'm a married woman. I have so I would do what I want to do, not because I have to do it as a pastor's kid.
Okay. What are the pressures that you think currently pastors' kids face now? I just need you to maybe address them, and how do you think they can, get above that, manage through with it? And parents, how do you think these pastors should allow their kids be kids? How do they balance it?
Yeah. Now, funny enough, I think now a lot of things are getting better. I don't know if that's the right word to say, with focus on pastor's kid. It's not that I want to believe, they still focus on pastor's kids. I just feel like the society has gone a bit past expecting you to be in a certain way or crucifying you if you're not that kid. Because, you know, for pastors now, I think westernization has also helped.
What? Westernization.
Yes.
Okay.
Like, look at us in this, maybe because we're now in this part of the world where you really can't hold whose pastor's kid you want to come be harassed, you know? So, like, here, people don't really, I won't say people don't really care, but it's not as much as in Nigeria. I think where you are also matters. We grew up in Ikorodu. Ikorodu is not as civilized. I don't know about now.
Don't let them come for you.
Exactly. As I said, I don't know about now.
I didn't say that.
As at that time, you know, it wasn't as civilized. So people were literally in all of your business. Now I'm not sure
It's the same.
it's the same. But
But what are other pressures? I'm sure there are other pressures like, you know, being social. They're not just themselves. So other than maybe people prying into their lives, there's some standards that they have to live by as well. Like, what advice do you have for them?
be yourself. That's the best I can actually tell anybody. You know, what works for one person might not work for the next person. Do what works for you. First, have a personal relationship with God, because I then think, oh, that would help a lot in whatever actions you take. Maybe if I had known Christ earlier, I wouldn't even do things as
Some of the things
yes, you know. But yeah, so I would say be yourself. Be yourself. It's not about what people think. People will always talk.
Yeah. I was telling someone, I was like, your life is a pinch out of someone else's life. So you do whatever you think they see you, they might look at you and the next second they're off.
Yeah.
You know. So what advice do you have for pastors who have kids that may not want to walk their way in terms of religion?
That's a difficult one, because how do you explain to you? Well, that's a difficult one. That's really a difficult one, because I don't know how that is going to. I don't know how that is going, because I'm thinking, okay, if growing up, I told my parents, oh, I didn't want to go to church. Well, to be fair, you know, it got to a point I wasn't going to church.
And did they know?
Oh, they knew. Even though they didn't like it,
What did they do?
well, they would talk. You know, I probably have a brother who doesn't go to church as much. And like my parents would tell you now, they would advise you, they would counsel you. But at the end of the day, you need to know this Jesus for yourself. The fact that he doesn't go to church doesn't mean he's not a Christian. It doesn't. So we also have to understand that going to church doesn't mean you're actually a Christian or whatever. But my advice would be close to your children. If you're close to your children, really, there's a lot of things you would know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you would understand.
Understand.
Yeah.
You understand the pressures they're going
Yes.
through.
Yes. Growing up, I probably wasn't as close now than like I am now with my parents. You know. So if you're close with your children, yeah, it doesn't mean you're happy with everything they're doing. Sometimes, yes, you need to bring out the iron, and sometimes you need to be a counselor. It's not every time being a teacher or a pastor.
Yeah.
You need to have. My parents are different things to me. They're my pastors. They're my parents. They're my teachers. They're my counselors. They're my friends. So there's sometimes I'm going through things and I need to talk to somebody. And the only person I can really talk to is my mom or my dad. And they won't judge me. You know, so relationship with your parents
It's important.
is very, very, or with your kids is very important.
Yeah.
It's very
So whatever it is, and I'd say maybe some understanding. The fact that you as a parent chose to, or maybe you found Jesus early. Some people need to find their way there. And sometimes maybe they need more time to get there, right? And I understand where they say, oh, rapture can happen tomorrow or whatever, right? But you really, like you said, it's important to experience, have that experience by yourself, have that relationship with God.
Yeah, my mom used to chase us for, Shotikapa, have you read your Bible today? Have you read your Bible? But now she will also tell you that I'm happy you guys have your own, because them doing that doesn't mean anything. Oh, I can tell you I've read. Does that mean I actually read the Bible? So she also came to the point of saying, okay, it's not about me chasing these children. Say, have you read your Bible? Oh, have you done this? They have to be balanced. And then she'll say, oh, now I'm grateful to God that you guys have your own relationship with.
What about serving in church? Was there pressure to serve?
I think automatically the duty falls on you to, you can't, I feel like it will even be somehow for you to just be sitting around when, there are things. So I think there's that automatic assignment.
What if, because I knew some of your brothers that maybe weren't really doing anything. I know most of you, but was there any discussion around that at home? Like you had to serve or,
No, my parents didn't. No,
Pressure.
I was, in the music, whatever, because I wanted
what
to
you do.
sing. Yes, my brother was in the tech because he loved it. My sister was in
Kids.
children, because so we did things that we loved.
Okay.
Not necessarily because my parents said, oh, you had to do it. No, my parents just were basically really after you coming to church or having a relationship with Christ.
Personal.
Not necessarily, oh, you have to do this in the church.
Or not. Okay. Would you have preferred not to be a pastor's kid? Honestly, don't worry, Daddy won't vex.
No, I'm actually thinking about that. Other than the pressures that you face outside, my life was pretty normal.
It was normal.
Yeah. Other than the church, outside of that, no, I had a pretty normal life. Yeah. So if there was one thing I would want to change,
Come back next year.
all right. I don't
I was
know.
just kidding.
Maybe just I want to say speaking out more, but I spoke out. I actually did. I think it's even now I don't speak out as much
To your parents or to people who...
to my parents. To people, I didn't speak out much.
So you feel like you should have?
Yeah.
Like let them
I probably
know.
should have. Yeah. Even though I felt like when I was a teenager, I took it out on my peers. So if you
Sorry, you took what out on your peers?
if you say something
Okay,
or
that had to
somebody
do
that had to
with
do with or that was
pastors.
sensitive to me,
Okay.
sometimes I treated it myself in I would lash out and
And I
growing
think
up-
that's a result of pressure.
yes,
whether
it could be.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with you.
It's so you're on the defensive. Like I'm a
Always.
pastor's child doesn't mean don't have these expectations about me. So
Yeah.
you're lashing out.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's a valid.
Yes.
It's a valid struggle.
Yes.
And that's why I was like, so what advice do you have for people? There's a lot. Think about all the pressures.
It's a
So
lot.
apart from telling them to be themselves, how do you think they can survive through, being a pastor's child?
Maybe speak out more. Whatever pressures you're going through.
Speak out, like talk to someone or
Yeah, talk to someone, but even with talking to someone, you really so that's why I said you really have to be careful. Because talking to someone, you can talk to your parents. They probably understand your struggle. But if the parents are not welcoming too, what do? Do you talk to you could talk to an outsider that would also use it against you. So you have to know where to draw the balance, how to balance it. Yes, speak up when you have to. If you speak up to your parents, discuss with your siblings if you have one, but stand up for yourself.
All right. Thank you so much, Mrs. Lawal, Pastor Isaac and Pastor Foluke Adeyemi's daughter. Thank you so much for spending time with us and giving us an insight, because people just see pastors' kids as, but sometimes they don't understand that it's a pressure on its own to be a pastor's child. And sometimes even parents have to go out of their way, to protect their kids. I have seen your mom do that. I have seen your mom do that, and I know some of the pressures that you face. So we're just telling you, as parents, please let your kids find their relationship with Christ on their own. You don't need to add to the pressure that they already face from the society. And for kids, be yourself. Speak up, stand up for yourself, and for everyone else, do not judge. Okay, so remember, this is a no judge zone. Please like, share, comment. We have come to the end of the session, and it's been a beautiful conversation. Thank you so much, Tosin. If you want to share, just please put your comment in the comment section. If you want to send me an anonymous message, my contact will be there. I'll help you post it. Or if you have a question for me or two, so my contact will be there. Tosin's will be there as well, and. Please like, share, subscribe. We've come to the end of the session. Until the next episode of Life Couch with Fady. See you then.
Stories we share, Fady's there.